Most men don't lose her because she lost interest. They lose her because she was standing right there showing every sign, and he was too buried in his own doubt to notice. That's the real tragedy. Not rejection, not heartbreak, but a woman quietly reaching for you while you convince yourself she doesn't care. She laughs a little longer at your words. She holds eye contact a beat past comfortable. She finds reasons to be near you that logic can't explain. And you're sitting there running the same anxious loop in your head. Does she like me? Is she just being nice? Am I reading this wrong? Meanwhile, the window closes. Not because she changed her mind, but because your hesitation told her something your mouth never did. It told her you didn't see her. And a woman who feels unseen will eventually stop showing up. That's why today I'm walking you through 5 unmistakable signs that a woman feels both comfortable and genuinely attracted to you. These aren't theories. These are patterns. And the last sign is the one most men get completely wrong. Understanding it will change the way you see every interaction you've ever had with a woman. Before we go any further, take a second to subscribe, tap the like button, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I want to see how far this message travels. There is a kind of silence that most men have never been taught to recognize. Not the awkward kind where both people are scrambling for something to say. Not the cold kind where words have been replaced by resentment. This silence is warm. It's full. And when a woman offers it to you, she's handing you something more intimate than most conversations will ever be. Picture this. You're driving somewhere together. No music, no agenda. The road is moving beneath you, and neither of you is speaking. But there's no tension, no pressure. She's looking out the window, maybe smiling faintly to herself, and you can feel it. A stillness between you that doesn't need to be filled. That silence isn't empty. It's the sound of a woman who has stopped performing around you. Most people don't realize how much energy women spend managing how they're perceived. Every sentence is filtered. Every reaction is measured. She's constantly asking herself whether she's being too much or not enough. But when a woman goes quiet beside you, not out of discomfort, but out of peace, it means that filter has been turned off. She's no longer managing her image. She's resting in your presence. And that kind of rest only happens when she feels safe. Here's the psychology behind it. Silence requires trust. Think about the people you can sit with and say nothing. They're not strangers. They're not acquaintances. They're the ones who already know you. When she gives you her silence, she's telling you without words that she doesn't need to impress you anymore. She's already decided you're safe enough to just exist around. Now, here's where most men destroy this moment without realizing it. They feel the quiet and they panic. They crack a joke. They ask a random question. They reach for their phone because somewhere in their mind, silence means something's wrong. It means she's bored. It means the energy is dying. So they rush to fill the space. And in doing so, they shatter the very intimacy she was building. The right move is counterintuitive, but powerful. When she goes quiet around you, let her. Don't rescue the conversation. Don't perform. Just be there. Let the silence sit between you like something sacred because to her it is. A man who can hold silence without flinching is a man who communicates something rare. I don't need to control this moment. I'm comfortable enough to let it breathe. And here's what happens when you do that. She notices. Maybe not consciously, but something in her relaxes even further. She leans a little closer. She breathes a little deeper. She starts to associate your presence with calm instead of effort. And that association is one of the most powerful foundations attraction can be built on. So pay attention to the quiet moments. They are not gaps in your connection. They are proof of it. And if her silence beside you feels like peace instead of pressure, you've already passed a test most men never even knew they were taking. But silence is just the beginning. Because once she feels safe enough to stop talking, her body will start speaking in a language far more honest than words ever could. Words can be controlled. Smiles can be rehearsed. But the body has a mind of its own. And when a woman is genuinely comfortable and attracted, her body moves toward you before her thoughts can catch up. This isn't something she decides. It's something that happens to her. And if you know what to look for, It's impossible to miss. You're sitting across from her at a table. The conversation is flowing. Nothing extraordinary, just an easy back and forth. But watch closely. Her knee is angled toward you beneath the table. Her shoulders have turned to face you fully, even though there are other people in the room. When you lean forward, she mirrors you. When you sit back, she follows half a second later. Her hand drifts closer to yours on the surface between you, not touching, but close enough that the space between your fingers feels deliberate. This is mirroring, and it's one of the most well-documented subconscious signals of rapport and attraction. The brain mirrors what it trusts. It copies what it's drawn to. She doesn't know she's doing it. She doesn't plan to angle her body in your direction. But the part of her mind that governs safety and desire has already made the calculation, and it's pulling her towards you without asking permission. Then there are the self-touch cues. She runs her fingers along the side of her neck. She plays with her earring. She smooths her hair, even though it doesn't need smoothing. These aren't random nervous habits. They're the body's response to heightened awareness. She is physically feeling the effect of your presence, and her hands are responding to that energy. It's involuntary. It's primal, and it's more honest than anything she could say out loud. Now, here's where men make one of two critical mistakes. The first is blindness. He sees none of this. He's so trapped in his own head analyzing her words that he completely misses the symphony her body is playing. He walks away thinking she was just being polite while she walks away wondering why he didn't make a move. The second mistake is the opposite. He sees the signs and immediately lunges. He takes her body language as a green light to escalate aggressively. He moves too fast, too eager, and he breaks the organic tension that was building naturally. She pulls back, not because she wasn't interested, but because the pace shifted from magnetic to desperate. The right move lives in the middle. Match her rhythm. If she leans in, let yourself lean in. If her energy is soft, keep yours steady. Don't announce what you've noticed. Don't say, "I can tell you like me." That kills the magic instantly. Instead, let your body answer hers. Let the conversation between your physical selves continue without either of you naming it. That unspoken dance is where real chemistry is built, in the space between what's felt and what's said. A woman's body will always tell you the truth. Her mouth might not be ready to speak. Your job isn't to force a confession. Your job is to listen to the language she doesn't know she's using. And once her body has told you she's drawn to you, the next sign goes even deeper. Because what happens next isn't about posture or proximity. It's about the moment she takes off the mask and lets you see her without her armor. Every person walks through the world wearing some version of armor. We polish our words. We curate our stories. We show the world the version of ourselves most likely to be accepted. Women in particular are taught from a young age that their value is tied to how well they present, composed, pleasant, put together. So when a woman begins to remove that armor in front of you, understand that something significant has shifted. She's not just being open. She's choosing you as someone safe enough to be unfinished around. It starts small. Maybe she admits something she usually hides, a fear that sounds silly when spoken aloud, a childhood memory she doesn't bring up at dinner parties, a dream she's embarrassed to say out loud because it might sound naive. She tells you and then she pauses, not because she's waiting for your response. She's watching your face. She's reading your micro-expressions for any sign of judgment, dismissal, or discomfort. That pause is the most vulnerable she's been with you. And what you do in that moment matters more than 100 compliments ever could. Here's the psychology. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the most sophisticated trust assessment a human being can perform. When she shares something unpolished, she's running a test she may not even be aware of. She's asking, can I be less than perfect here and still be wanted? If your response passes that test, her attraction doesn't just remain. It deepens in a way that surface-level charm can never replicate. You move from someone she likes to someone she feels anchored to. But most men fumble this moment, not out of cruelty, but out of habit. She tells you she's afraid of something, and you immediately try to fix it. You offer solutions. You rationalize her feelings. Or worse, You laugh it off to lighten the mood, not realizing you just told her that her inner world isn't something you take seriously. Some men hear vulnerability and respond with their own story, shifting the spotlight before she's even finished standing in hers. Each of these responses communicates the same message. I don't know how to hold what you just gave me. The right move requires no brilliance. It requires presence. When she opens up, don't rush to fill the space with advice. Don't redirect. Don't minimize. Just receive it. Look at her. Let the weight of what she said sit in the air for a moment. Then respond in a way that tells her you heard her, not that you've solved her. Something as simple as that makes sense. Or, I'm glad you told me. Carries more emotional power than any grand gesture because it says, I see you and I'm not going anywhere. This is the sign that separates the men women date from the men women fall for. Attraction can be sparked by confidence, humor, appearance, and any number of surface qualities. But the decision to fall, that's made in the quiet moments where she showed you the parts of herself she usually hides and you didn't flinch. So, when a woman starts letting her guard down around you, when her laughter gets louder, her stories get more personal, and her perfection starts giving way to something messier and more real, don't see it as casual. See it for what it is, a door opening, one she doesn't open for just anyone. And once that door is open, the next sign tests something different entirely. Because comfort in your presence is one thing, but what happens when you're not there? What she does in your absence reveals whether her attraction has roots or whether it was only ever surface. There's a moment in every connection where the truth reveals itself, and it almost never happens when you're together. It happens when you're apart. Because proximity can be comfortable for many reasons: habit, convenience, loneliness. But when a woman reaches for you in your absence, when she closes a gap she didn't have to close, that's when you know her attraction isn't circumstantial. It's rooted. Imagine this. You've had a full day. Work pulled you in. Life got busy and you didn't reach out. Not as a tactic, not as a game. You were simply living your life. And then your phone lights up. It's her. Not with something urgent, not with a question that needed answering, just a message that says something like, I heard this song and thought of you. Or a voice note where you can hear the smile before she even speaks. That message isn't about the song. It's not about information. It's about a woman whose mind drifted to you when nothing forced it to. That is attraction in its most honest form. Unprompted, unperformed, and real. Here's the psychology that makes this sign so revealing. When both comfort and attraction exist together, your absence creates a specific kind of ache. Not panic, not anxiety, not the desperate spiral of someone who's afraid of losing control. It's gentler than that. It's the feeling of missing a place that feels like home. She doesn't reach out because she's insecure. She reaches out because your presence has become something her day feels incomplete without, and that distinction matters enormously. Contrast this with attraction that has no comfort beneath it. In that dynamic, your absence triggers fear. She doesn't reach out warmly. She either bombards you with messages laced with suspicion, or she retreats entirely, punishing you with silence. That's not connection. That's anxiety wearing the mask of love. Now contrast it from the other side. Comfort without attraction. In that case, your absence barely registers. She notices you've been quiet, but it doesn't move her. She might respond if you reach out, but she'll never initiate. You've become furniture in her emotional landscape, present but unfelt. When both forces are alive, the dynamic is unmistakable. She reaches for you with warmth, not desperation. She lets you know you are on her mind without making it a demand. There's an ease to it that can't be manufactured. And it tells you something no amount of in-person chemistry ever could. That when you're not performing, not present, not giving her anything at all, she still chooses to think of you. Now, here's where men go wrong. Some men never give enough space for the sign to reveal itself. They text constantly. They fill every silence. They hover so close that she never has the room to miss them. You cannot test gravity if you never let go of the object. Others take the opposite approach and weaponize distance. They disappear deliberately, playing games to provoke a reaction, but manufactured absence produces manufactured responses. She might reach out, but it will be from anxiety, not affection. And you'll never know the difference if you engineered the situation. The healthiest version of this sign emerges when you simply live a life full enough that space occurs naturally. You're not testing her. You're not punishing her. You're just existing as a complete person. And in that space, if she moves toward you with warmth, you have your answer. Don't chase confirmation. Don't engineer experiments. Just step into your own life fully. And pay attention to who follows you there. Not out of fear, but out of genuine desire. And now that you've seen how she responds to your absence, the final sign will challenge everything you think you know. Because the last sign doesn't look like attraction at all. In fact, most men mistake it for the exact opposite. And that misreading costs them more than they'll ever realize. Here's the sign that breaks every expectation. The one most men get entirely wrong because they've been conditioned to believe attraction should always feel like peace. It shouldn't. Sometimes the clearest evidence that a woman is deeply comfortable and genuinely attracted to you is this. She argues with you and she stays. Think about what conflict actually requires. It demands energy. It demands emotional exposure. It demands caring enough about the outcome to endure the discomfort of disagreement. A woman who feels nothing doesn't fight with you. She agrees. She smiles politely. She tells you whatever you want to hear because the truth isn't worth the effort. When the person doesn't matter, indifference is quiet and cooperative and devastatingly empty. But when she pushes back, when her voice rises, when her eyes sharpen with frustration, she is telling you without knowing it that you still matter enough to fight for. Picture a moment of tension between you. Maybe it's something small, a misunderstanding, a difference of opinion, a moment where you said the wrong thing and she didn't let it slide. Her tone shifts. She challenges you. Maybe she's emotional. Maybe she's direct in a way that catches you off guard. But notice what she doesn't do. She doesn't walk out. She doesn't shut down and disappear for days. She doesn't give you the cold, calculated withdrawal of someone who has already checked out. She stays in the room. She stays in the conversation. She might be upset, but she's still facing you. And that distinction changes everything. Here's the psychology most men never learn. Conflict in a relationship is not the absence of love. It's often the evidence of it. When she argues, she's investing. She's saying, "This matters enough to me that I won't let it rot in silence." She's showing you that she'd rather fight through the discomfort than let the connection erode from neglect. That is not a woman losing attraction. That is a woman who still sees a future worth protecting. The mistake men make here is devastating in its simplicity. He feels the friction and he shuts down. He goes cold. He matches her frustration with withdrawal. Or he escalates, turning a disagreement into a war because his ego interprets her pushback as disrespect. Both responses send the same message. I cannot handle your full emotional range. And a woman who receives that message enough times will eventually stop bringing her emotions to you at all. She won't argue anymore. She'll agree with everything. And the day she stops fighting is not the day your relationship found peace. It's the day she gave up. The right response is to stay, not to agree with everything she says. Not to abandon your own position, but to remain emotionally present while she's upset. Hold your ground with calm. Let her see that her intensity doesn't frighten you, doesn't push you away, doesn't trigger you into cruelty or collapse. A man who can stand steady in the storm of a woman's emotions without retaliating or retreating is a man she trusts at the deepest level. And that trust fuels an attraction that surface-level harmony never could. So the next time she challenges you, the next time a conversation gets heated and you feel the impulse to shut down or fight back with venom, pause. Recognize what's actually happening. She's not attacking you. She's showing you she's still invested. Her fire is proof that she's still burning for you. And a woman who still burns is a woman who hasn't left. The men who understand this stop fearing conflict. They stop measuring the health of their connection by how smooth things feel. They learn that sometimes love is loud and uncomfortable and messy. And that's exactly how you know it's real. You've now heard all 5 signs. The silence that speaks trust. The body that moves without permission. The armor that drops when safety is felt. The pole that reveals itself in your absence. And the fire that proves she's still invested even when it doesn't look the way you expected. But here's the part most people won't tell you. Knowing these signs isn't the real gift. The real gift is what this knowledge demands of you, because seeing clearly means you can no longer hide behind confusion. You can no longer tell yourself you don't know where you stand, and that clarity comes with a responsibility. The responsibility to become the kind of man who deserves what she's offering. Most men don't fail with women because women are too complicated or too unpredictable. They fail because they are so consumed by their own insecurity that they can't see what's already in front of them. She leans in and he second guesses it. She goes quiet beside him and he floods the space with nervous energy. She opens up about something real and he deflects with humor because tenderness feels foreign to him. She reaches out in his absence and he doesn't recognize it as desire because it wasn't loud enough. She fights for the connection, and he mistakes her passion for hostility. The signs were always there. He just never built the emotional architecture to receive them. That's the deeper work, not learning to decode women. Learning to become grounded enough within yourself that you stop distorting what's already clear. A man at war with his own value will misread everything. He'll see rejection where there's nervousness. He'll see indifference where there's patience. He'll see conflict where there's love. His insecurity becomes a filter that bends every signal until it confirms his worst fears. And then he acts on those distorted signals, pulling away, overcompensating, shutting down, and creates the very rejection he was afraid of. The antidote is not more tactics. It's not a list of moves to memorize. It's the decision to stand in your own worth firmly enough that you can receive affection without questioning it, hold space without filling it, and face tension without crumbling. When you reach that place, you don't need to analyze her every gesture. You see clearly because you're no longer looking through the fog of your own fear. So, here's what I want you to carry from this. Stop searching for certainty. Stop waiting for a woman to spell it out in terms your anxiety will accept. Instead, trust your ability to observe. Trust the silence. Trust the body. Trust the vulnerability she shows you. Trust the pull. Trust even the conflict. And most importantly, trust yourself to know the difference between a woman who's truly with you and one who isn't. The goal was never to decode her. The goal was always to become the man who doesn't need to. The man who sees clearly, responds wisely, and lets connection unfold without gripping it so tightly that it breaks. That's not a skill. That's a way of being, and it starts now. Before you go, subscribe if this reached you. Hit like if this shifted something in how you think. Share this with someone who needs to hear it today. And in the comments, tell me which of the 5 signs have you noticed in your own life. Your story might be the one that helps another man finally see what was always right in front of him. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of seeing clearly and choosing wisely for the rest of your